like the question is, I don't. I mean, you talked about the Augur project, and
Yes.
these project doesn't really seem to be legal in some countries. For instance, like the U.S., it might be. I mean, it's just my hunch.
It depends if it's illegal to. I mean, if it's illegal to participate, then you should think twice before participating. If it's illegal to run, then no one's running. One of the sort of important features of these sort of blockchain projects is that no one's running them.
Right. So, like, I was just wondering, like, if you have any like, particular market in mind to actually enter first and.
For these areas, I mean, I think that there's a lot of. There's a lot of places in Asia where it seems like it might become popular. I think that they're kind of trying to target a lot of different countries at once. So, and I think that in general, I found that sort of different, most of the Ethereum applications tend not to be sort of targeting one market in particular. And part of the reason of that is sort of because I think one of the main advantages of this sort of blockchain and cryptocurrency technology is that it's completely global. Ethereum even has a node in South Africa right now.
So there's a browser.
Yes. Yes.
So you can look at all the contracts that are on the network, and then you can interact with those contracts.
Yeah. So the idea is that if you want to, then you can write you can write a kind of interface for some particular contract. So you would use JavaScript and HTML the same way that you would program a website, except basically wherever in a sort of normal application you would make a call to a server. Here there's like a sort of special object you can use to send a transaction or query the blockchain. And these websites, I mean, right now you basically have to sort of host them yourself, but eventually we'll be using either Swarm or IPFS or some kind of sort of distributed hash table solution, and it would be those sort of stick the HTML and JavaScript onto that.
That would be like a torrent system for
a torrent system for the sort of the front end part, and the back end part sits on the chain.
한국어로 주문하시면 또 통역이 영어로 주문을 해드리겠습니다.
Could you elaborate a little bit on proof of work and why you chose to go with proof of work initially, and why you're deciding to transition?
Sure. So the idea behind proof of work is this idea that you have these sort of thousands of computers around the world, and they're all engaging in this process called mining, which basically means that in order for a block, which is kind of like a package of transactions that goes into the network, to be valid, the block needs to basically have this special kind of signature attached, which is computationally very hard to produce. And that's just a sort of rule of the Ethereum protocol. And the idea behind that is basically to prevent people trying to attack the network from kind of making a sort of fake history. So basically making their own blockchain, and with maybe some transactions excluded, some transactions in a different order, and pretending that it's the real one. So we went with it initially because it's sort of it's sort of relatively well studied and known to work. The other alternative is called proof of stake. So I mean, the sort of simplest analogy I found to describe proof of stake is that it's kind of like sort of virtual mining. So instead of sort of buying a computer in the real world where that computer ends up creating these blocks, you sort of use coins inside the system to kind of buy a virtual miner inside the system, and then that virtual miner kind of virtually creates these blocks without actually spending any real electricity. So and I like those kinds of models because they're sort of theoretically much cheaper. We haven't gone with them yet because we sort of still haven't fully exactly figured out the math about how best to do that.
네.
Do you have any idea of preventing the speculation?
Preventing speculation on what?
Investment
mean, so I think, yeah, but we've never sort of really targeted Ether as being a currency to the same extent. So we've kind of always said that Ether is supposed to be more of this kind of mechanism for paying for transaction fees, and not something necessarily for normal people to accumulate thousands of dollars worth of. I mean, I think in general, if applications start existing on top of Ethereum, I mean, they could use these kind of volatile cryptocurrencies, in which case, the price is going to go up and down a lot. They could also use these kind of different kinds of sort of dollar tokens that are either backed by fiat, backed by some regular currency, or have like some special sort of issuance rules that make the price more stable, and that would sort of help solve some of the volatility issues. But in general, I think it depends on what each application does. Yeah.
The decentralized applications that will run on Ethereum require gas, or require Ethereum. I read on the site that one of your caveats was if there was a lot of interest in Ethereum, it drove up the price of the Ether pool for the decentralized application. It can make the applications too expensive to run. Is there a way to adjust the gas price?
So yeah, the gas price should adjust, and like eventually, I think actually what we're going to do here is sort of create market mechanisms for it to adjust automatically. So I mean, like you probably would expect sort of some degree of price stickiness if sort of the price of Ether jumps up quickly, but it should readjust.
How is that done? What does it respond to?
I mean, so the idea is that it would be a market mechanism. So the gas price would ultimately be set by supply and demand. So how much people, so there would be a gas limit of say 3 million Ether a block. And it depends on how much people are willing to put in, how much people are actually willing to, or what is the sort of equilibrium price at which people are willing to put in that 3 million gas worth of transactions. And the theory is that, if the price of Ether suddenly goes up by a factor of 10, well, people's willingness to pay for sending transactions isn't necessarily going to go up by a factor of 10 as well. It might go up as well because there's higher demand, but probably not by as much.
이게 좀 대부분의 사람들이 there are many Koreans here. So I think sometimes some volunteer translate Korean to English to Korean, and sometimes it's very helpful to participate all person in this meeting. So 좀 자발적으로 좀 중간에 좀 요약을 해줄 수 있어요? 한국어로 좀 할 수 있는 사람 여기 한국
그 발렌티어가 있는데 승격해 주시기로 했는데
전부 다 유학을
아니 제 생각은 어떻게 하는 게 이 미팅이 좀 더 많은 사람들이 더 커뮤니케이션이 좋을 것 같으냐면 이제 여기 다른 분들이 얘기를 하잖아요. 그리고 뭔가 답변이 하잖아요. 그럼 그거 한 섹션을 간략히 뭐 이해된 대로 요약해서 한국말로 다 트랜슬레이트 해주고 그러면 이제 또 다른 사람들도 뭔가 또 얘기가 있으면 그거 또 한 섹션 그러니까 우리 뭐 이더코인에서 보면 트랜잭션 단위로 트랜슬레이션 해주는 게 좋지 않을까. 네. 제가 좀 짧아서요.
이거 1시간 전에 행사였는데 그래서 세워가면 시간이 안 될 것 같아서 그랬는데
촬영하시고 나중에 번역해서 올리시는 게 어때요? 촬영하시고
What brought me here to Korea? I was at this technology conference, I call it ISIS. It's this international conference for the integration of science, technology, and society. It's kind of a small event that's organized by the organization. They invited me to speak.
What are Ethereum's sort of like the measures to tackle the scalability problems?
I mean, there's a few different strategies. So the first that I wrote a blog post about is this idea of state tree pruning, where the users don't have to store the entire blockchain. They can sort of throw away parts that are too old. And I think that one decreases the amount of hard drive space that you need by maybe a factor of 10. The next, there is also this concept of light clients. So if the blockchain gets too big that some computers can't store it, so say if you have a phone, for example, then there is a way to sort of connect to the block and synchronize with the blockchain without downloading all of the blocks. You would sort of just download the block headers, which is a much smaller amount of data, and from that you can securely access anything else that you want. So that's a strategy. So that's something that's I think going to start to be developed very soon. Yes.
Testnet hit 25 transactions per second.
Yes.
At one point, what's the block size of each block?
So there's no block size limit, but there is a gas limit. So gas is what this kind of measurement that we're using for transactions. It sort of includes computational steps, and it includes space usage, it includes sort of includes the adding data storage and so forth. The current gas limit is going to be around 3 million, which is enough to send about 149 simple transactions and maybe 30 to 50 more complex transactions every 15 seconds. But if we're going to eventually sort of move to a formula that kind of dynamically adjusts the gas limit to sort of be at sort of exactly the level that the network can handle well.
그리고 행사가 녹화되고 있는데요. 행사 끝나고 나서 저희가 행사 내용을 요약한 것을 저희 유튜브에 올릴 거고요. 행사가 약간 시간이 짧아서 통역을 다 못할 것 같아요. 그래서 질문 내용에 대해서 이제 영어로 드리고 답변 등 요약이 이런 것들은 저희가 나중에 따로 준비하는 것 좀 양해 부탁드리겠습니다.
He was basically explaining to the crowd how we're gonna handle the language, like translation issues.
And also for scalability in the long term, I think I wrote this paper where I described some approaches where you don't even need sort of any single node to process every transaction. You can sort of distribute it a lot more. So that's the architecture that we're going to move into in maybe 3 years.
Is that somewhat similar to transparent forwarding?
Not really. I mean, so NXT still has the node processes every transaction below. It's just that the blocks are kind of done this round robin fashion. The idea here is that you would actually have to have different groups of nodes processing different parts of the state and transactions in parallel.
Is there anything that makes Ether not very useful as a currency?
I mean, right now, I guess it's more inflationary than Bitcoin, although once we switch to proof of stake, that'll end up changing. That's, I mean, theoretically, if we do switch to proof of stake and sort of, I mean, if Ethereum sort of gets, or if Ether gets a sort of network effect as a currency to the point where it's as much as Bitcoin, then yes, it would be sort of useful in that fashion, but it's not sort of, we're not sort of trying to market it to push it in that direction.
But it does need to have a value. Right?
Yes, completely.
So where can I get Ether?
There's a few ways. Yes, if you have a miner, then you can start mining. And if you create a block, then every block you can buy Ether.
Yeah, but where can I get it?
If you're getting miner, like any computer can mine theoretically.
No, I'm not saying mining, but can I buy it?
Oh, buy, okay. Yes. Yeah, you can buy it. There are exchanges.
Which exchange?
Let me think. I think Kraken, UNB, Poloniex, like a few others. There's
What's the liquidity? Like how?
It's not very high right now. It's